Thank you, thank you, thank you. They don't say it's over until it's finally over, ladies and gentlemen. So I need your energy high for the next 10 minutes. All right, so how many of you have ever had to make a really difficult decision in your life that you've ever regretted? Yeah. Raise your hand. How long is this? Oh, God. Right. Come back with me. It's 2001. And you find me standing in a room with a very high ceiling, lots of windows all around it. And there's this smell of oldness in that room. I'm standing there. My hands are shaking. There's people everywhere. Some faces I recognise, some faces I don't. In front of me, there is a wooden box. And this is not somewhere that I really want to be standing right about now. I've not been able to tell you this, but for the past 18 years, you have been an abusive partner to me. And I really wanted to tell you about all the times that you hit me, all the times that you did this in front of my children. But I couldn't. But now that you're not here anymore, I just want to tell you that why did you do what you did to me? Why couldn't you have just been the perfect father that I always dreamed about from a child growing up? As I hold this letter in my hand, I place it in the coffin. Goodbye, Anneth. Goodbye, Charlie. What you guys don't know is that I was in an 18-year-long abusive relationship, which I started at the age of 16 years old. I was a vulnerable young woman, young mother, and my mother had mental health problems. So sometimes we had mum at home, and other times we didn't. So we were sent to aunties, we were sent to other family members, or even church members at times, to actually stay with them. And this really disjointed me as a young child. I became very vulnerable and ended up in situations that I had no business being in. Have you ever been in those types of situations before? So this is how my life journey started. And then I ended up in this relationship with a man that I really didn't want to be in a relationship with. It was one of those ones where he liked me, I didn't necessarily like him, but he decided he wanted to take me. So that lasted for that length of time. And 2 children later, it's now 2001. And I've lost everything. I've lost my home. I've lost the person who was meant to love me but really didn't. And I'm standing here trying to make a decision about where I move and where I go forward with my life. So now the funeral is over, and I've not been able to ask or get answers to the questions that I really had. Have you ever had something in your life where you've really wanted to ask questions and it's just been too late? Because either that person's not here anymore, you've got broken relationships and you just cannot communicate with them. So it becomes very, very difficult. So you hold on to these things. But one thing that I did do was I decided that I still needed to live on for the 2 children that I had. Because if I'd have just curled up and died, then what good would I have been as a role model for them? So what I did was I took my experiences, I took all the level of resilience that I'd already used to actually get through the past 18 years of my life. And I made a decision one day. I sat at the kitchen table and I was talking to my sister, and I said to her, Dawn, you know what? I need to do something different with my life. I can't just stay like this. Have you ever heard of the term of victim mentality? Yeah? So I was there for a very long time. Because every single day, if you imagine being in a situation where you're only hearing you are not good enough, okay? You are nothing. And all of these negative words that are coming into your mind, you actually start to believe that, and you actually start to take on that persona as if it was yours. But I had to get to a point in my life where I just decided that I was going to only listen to the one voice that I should have been listening to in the first place, which was the voice of God. The voice of God telling me who I was, who I should have been in him. And believe me, it was my faith that kept me through those dark times. So what did I do? I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to allow the issues of the past to affect my future. So imagine, I'm 31 years old. I've got 2 young children under the age of 15 years old. And I've got this whole life in front of me. So I decided that I was going to roll my sleeves up and decide to take the bull by the horns. So I enrolled in college because before I wasn't able to go. I studied really hard. I locked myself in a bedroom for 3 whole years. So I came out at the end with 3 degrees, right? Fabulous, 3 degrees. All right? Because I knew that if I didn't take control of my destiny, then actually somebody else would. All right? Because that's how I started. Someone tried to take hold of my destiny. And then God interrupted that and said, actually, I created you, and now I'm going to finish the end of your story. So it's really important, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't matter where you start, it's really all about what you do to change the trajectory of where you're going to end up. So we did an exercise earlier on today about future pacing. All right, so imagine if you are here today, where do you want to be in 3 years' time? Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? So if I'd had the same mentality I had in 2001 and stayed there, perhaps I wouldn't be standing here with you today. All right, because I would have either been in a box next to my ex-partner, or I would have been off a bridge somewhere because of what I'd gone through. But I chose not to let the experiences of my past dictate the future that I have. All right, so what does that mean for you today? It means that confidence is something that you can develop and grow over time. Confidence, firstly, in knowing who you are, but also knowing whose you are. Because as women, sometimes as women, we tend to listen to what other people say who we are and who we should be. But actually, we need to change that narrative and recognize the voice of God that is speaking to us. So what did I do? I took all those experiences. I started a business, actually had an office right here in this very building for about 4 years. All right, and that was to do with restorative practice, restorative justice, because I wasn't able to get those kind of answers for myself. So I decided that I wanted to start a business that would help other people to find the answers to their situations. So I worked very closely with Bedfordshire Police for a period of time, for about 3 years, developed a project here. Some people are standing in this very room now who have benefited from that service. All right, and the idea behind that is so that we know that if ever you're going through something, that you can always turn to someone to share your story. And we've heard a lot today about stories and how important they are. So what I try to do is I try to help people to speak their stories, so that not only necessarily they go in a book, but they can stand in front of other people to share, because you never know who you're going to be helping. So what happened on my entrepreneurial journey? I had some ups and I had some downs. I had some people who really didn't like what I was doing. I'm not a bad person. I'm a very good person, I think. And just certain people come into your life to try to maybe kill your spirit or to kill your business, because when they see you excelling, sometimes they don't like it. And that happened to me on 2 very occasions. And actually, the first time I thought my whole career was going to be over because someone told lies on me. But again, I had to roll up my sleeves and I had to say to myself, if I got through that before, I can certainly get through this. And I did. All right? So what happened from that, I decided that I was only going to have one person tell me who's going to fire me and who's going to hire me. Right? Because the thing is, when you leave yourself in the hands of employers, which is not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but you have no control, right? So we've got to get to a position where we take control of our destiny. Because if you're not building your own dreams, you're certainly building somebody else's dream. So what I try to do now is I take all of those years of experiences and I help people to use their story, to use their experience, to use their unique brilliance to be able to create a life of wealth for themselves. And I'm not one for talking all about money, but money is important, because without money, we can't do the things that we need to do. Okay, so there's a scripture in the Bible that says money answereth all things, right? For those of you who are believers. And I am a kingdom builder. So what do? I go around and I help women just who were like I was, who were perhaps a single mother, who were perhaps having a scarcity and a poverty mentality, to let them and help know that they can think outside of the box. Because you're only in a box that someone else puts you in. okay? Because we need to make sure that we're breaking the glass ceilings. For years in business, I was writing bids and I was relying on funding, and sometimes you'd get funding, sometimes you wouldn't. The project's going really well, and then they pull the plug. Well, I was sick and tired of all of that, so I decided to take control of my own financial income. So with that, I went on and I learned to become a business coach, I learned to become a professional speaker coach, and then I realised that I had this entrepreneurial spirit about me. And I really realised that actually I've got something that thousands of people out there need and want. And that same thing in me is no different to what's in you. The only difference between me standing up here, possibly, is that I had faith to step out the box. All right, so that's really what I do. I'm here to let you know that if you have a dream, please don't leave it shut. You've got so much inside of you. In the workshop this morning, we talked about your gifts, your talents, your wisdom, your experience. All of those things that you think, oh, I'm just a mum or I'm just a grandmother. Actually, no, you're not. You are an awesome vessel full. Okay, that the people out there need to hear about you. So if you want to come along this journey with me, I'm offering everybody in this room, in fact, a free 30-minute conversation with me to see what I can do to help you to pull out those gifts and those talents, because believe me, the world needs you. And in particular, we're talking about Women's International Day. Women, we are the ones that are the pillars of the next generation, because without the birth canal, it's not happening. All right? Regardless of what science, chemistry, and manufactured this and that wants to do, you cannot change divine order. Okay? So I want you to know that because you have such an inbuilt gift of the birth canal, that means there are many dreams, there are many ideas, there are many things that you have inside of it that you perhaps don't have the faith and the belief to step out on. But what I'm going to do for you today is just speak my level of belief over you. And I believe that you can do all the things that you want to do if you put your mind to it. Raise your hands if you agree. It's important. We need to raise the standard of belief. There's a massive world out there. What I've done is I've taken myself from Luton, Bedfordshire. I've travelled all over the world. I work in a professional speakers academy. I'm coaching people in places like Kuwait, Lebanon, Australia. I've been to Australia. That took me to Australia last year. And all because I took that opportunity to step out that boat. All right, I could have shriveled up and died and said, actually, no, I can't do this because. So whenever you hear that word, I can't do this because, my question to you is, why not? Simply, why not? All right? So I want you to be encouraged. It's very short, very sweet, but please be encouraged. Have faith to know that you can do anything that you want to do. Why? Because I'm standing here as a living testimony, telling you that anything is possible if you believe. Thank you. Just one more thing. There's been a lot of talk about mothers here, single mothers in particular. So I collaborated with 9 other females and women, and we wrote this book. It's called The Single Mother's Diary. In here you will see my journey of what I went through to get to where I am today, plus 9 other stories. Now, again, it's really important. You never know who your story is going to help. So the lady who came up talked about publishing earlier on. I want you to listen to her, take that on board and get yourself published. If you can't do it, invest in somebody else that can do it for you, because believe me, your story is life-changing. This book is now turned into a film, and we are now on Amazon Prime. We've had a launch in Jamaica, we've had a launch in the USA, and it's really taking us places. All right? Thank you. And I don't say that to get applause. I say that to tell you that it is possible. So those words that you've got going on inside your head, you're thinking, I'm quite good at this. When you're sitting in the shower and you're perhaps talking to yourself, or you're trying to sing in the mirror and all those things, believe me, there's somebody waiting out there to hear that. All right, so please, ladies, be encouraged on this International Women's Day that you can do anything that you want to do. Thank you.
Who got the keys to my bimmer? Who am I? The girls them love, and I, we make love to precious. You ever buck again with deep like a bucket. Draw for your niggle and your niggle can't stitch it. Draw for your oxen like a cow, you wanna chop it. Draw for your pickaxe like a gun, you wanna dig it. It's like a riverside up on the bank and you take it. It's like a bicycle so you hold it and dash it. So you watch it, so you crash it, she a tell you say you grab it. Girl, she a beg you wanna ball, take it, stop it. Bad man plug in and me a move like a electric. It's like a basketball, she take time out to bomb it. We listen to me silent, we listen to me lyrics. I feel him and they and me a drop it. I said, Sim, who got the keys to my bima? Who am I? The girls them sugar. How can I make love to a fella in a rush? Pass me the keys to my trucks. Who am I? The girls them lock. And I, we make love to precious. Anything she wants, I will give it unto she. I can't believe the day my friend them tell me that she's free. I don't believe he's angry and I don't believe he's grief. I don't believe it's Susan or the other girls I read. Love for me, she has, that is the only thing I need. I don't intend right now just to lose my main squeeze. Oh, one time I mean, you are killer. Girl, the way you watch it on me body under pressure. Man, see your body all I kill you and sit down. When your body right, just to know you got the power. But Simma, who got the keys to my bima? Who am I? The girls them sugar. How can I make love to a fella in a rush? Pass me the keys to my trucks. Who am I? The girls them love. And I will make love to precious stuff. I tell myself I don't want nobody else.
On tune.
Yeah. My question is for, I'm really sorry, but I didn't hear the beginning of your speech, the lady that spoke about the laundrette, yeah, in Milton Keynes. I've got two questions. Are you going to bring any to Luton? Because the laundrettes in Luton are really horrible. I hate them and I do use them.
I won't be opening any more laundrettes, but we are registered trademark and we now are looking for people that would like to open them as franchises. So hopefully, yeah, but I won't be opening one. But
second one, which is really... hear that.
There isn't a student population in Milton Keynes, but we've just launched a product in Buckingham called Campus Wash, which is a weekly collection of... Sorry, can you go to them? Yeah, the Fresh Laundry Company has just launched a product called Campus Wash, which is a weekly collection and delivery for students. It's a set price. And if we felt that we could get the same uptake at Luton, then we would do a delivery and collection in Luton weekly. That's easy for us to organise. But in terms of opening a laundrette over here, I'm hoping that someone will come along and say, well, we love what Bubbles is all about. And it's a shame because I've not brought any pictures really, but I don't want to hold the mic too long. But when we opened it, when I opened it, I had to get the brand feel. So all of our laundrettes are decorated like 1950s American diners.
Oh, okay.
The staff, we call the staff the Bubbleettes. They're all dressed in 50s gear. We play 50s music. Does anyone remember the old Levi's ad with Nick Cayman? So if you go on Bubbles Laundromat's Facebook page and scroll down, we actually did a remake of that. So we've got a very, very strong brand, which we hope someone who would like to be self-employed, and it is such a brilliant industry to be in, because really, who doesn't have a bag of laundry every week? So we're hoping someone will come along and say, yeah, we'd really like to open a franchise, and then we'd have that discussion with them. But we've got no plans to open one in Luton, for me anyway, not personally. But franchising, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions at all? Anybody else?
Hello, just a quick one actually. Is it Annette? Yeah. Thank you very much for all that you just shared. You said that you're inviting everyone to be able to speak to you, but what were your contact details or?
Yeah, if you pop over to my desk, I've got some bookmarks on my table, so if you take one of those, then it takes you straight to a page where you can put your details in for a free discovery call.
Right, okay, brilliant, thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions for anybody?
Do you think life as a woman is a lot better now compared to what it was like 50 years ago? If so, how?
No. Who are you asking? Anyone in particular?
Anyone.
Well, I'm actually 50 years old, so I don't know. Is life better now? As a woman, I would say no. I'd say life is harder now for the simple reason there is less community. We can't reach out to many people now because everyone's on their phones, it's all social, and we're living in a very virtual world. There's so much things that we're up against as well with regards to women. I don't know whether you're talking specifically in personal life or in business or just life generally. Where's your question at? Just business? Okay, business is where her focus is. We always have to fight harder as a woman in business, and particularly as a black female in business as well. It's really harder. But the key thing to remember is, like I said in my speech, is if you have a vision, you need to stay focused on that vision and be around like-minded people. You need to have 3 types of people around you. People that are below you that you can pull up. People at the same level as you that you can kind of banter with and get on with. And others that can mentor you to take you to a higher place. So my encouragement to anyone who's in that position is to find people around you that can support you and take you to the next level with your dream and what it is you want to do.
Your question, I believe socially it's harder for women now. I think the pressure is more on you to be something that you may not necessarily be. We see too many images. But in business, I think that women have come with a very different skill set to men. You negotiate better, you're more empathetic, you're used to dealing in life with win-wins. So, men sorry guys, but in business you can be very cutthroat, and I think women have a lot of skills in the boardroom and in business that are more valuable and should be honoured more. So don't be threatened by the gender thing in business. If you want to do it, remember you bring things that they don't. Okay?
Anybody else in the audience that would like to ask a question? Are you sure? Go once, go twice.
Going once, going twice, sold.